brand inspired you to take your channeling seriously and to put them in a book? And what's the name of that book? That was your first one, right?
The first, yeah, good thing I have it right here. The first book is Mirroring Worlds. That's the first book. So that was maybe in so I guess that must have been the year after. So maybe 2018, after we got back from Shasta and he brought that up, I, came back and worked on it. And just because the way that the channeling for me works is that it's, I type it all. So it's already a digital form in Word manuscript, which is how we put all these books together. So because when I channel, it just goes into a Word document, like that's how I save it for myself. Then as I kept channeling, and again, I didn't know if I was going to continue doing it or not after I put this first book together. But once again, I had a whole stack of new ones, then I decided to put the second book out just because it's easy. And if it resonates with someone, good. And if it doesn't, it's good. It's fine. So I just thought it's free for me to do it. I might as well just compile them and put it out for people that are interested in that kind of stuff.
So that's the second one, because that's recent.
So the second one I just came out at the beginning of this year. Really, it's called A Glimpse into Infinity, and they're both really just channeled material. So it's just. I
noticed on the covers of both your books you have a mirror.
Well, it's supposed to be like a portal, I guess, is the thing, right? Like, where is the information coming from? Yeah, so it's like coming from the other side.
It's coming from the other side. Well, how does that happen? Because the average person doesn't know. Do you calm your mind? Do you fast? Do you meditate? Do you light a candle? How do you do it?
Absolutely meditation. I used to have to meditate for a lot longer. Like I used to meditate for an hour to 2 hours a day, every day. So I was used to, getting into the state of mind where you can then kind of, because I was trained in QHHT, the Dolores Cannon regression hypnosis modality. So we kind of learn in there how, if your mind is quiet enough that you can get to your, what she calls her subconscious or your higher self. So when you regress someone, you're putting them into that state so you can make them deep enough into trance or deep enough into the theta state that we say, kind of, that you can then switch over and be able to talk to the person's higher self. So I was kind of hoping that I could find like the loophole to be able to, instead of regressing someone else, I could regress myself and talk to my own higher self, because I wanted to make that connection. I didn't even know if it was possible or not, but that was my intention, is to try to do something like that. And when I was practicing this meditation and trying to ask myself, like trying to, start talking and see if anything would ever respond, thinking that was my higher self. And that's where all the messages were coming from. So I would stay up all night before I started writing it, which is before I started typing it. I would just stay up all night having this conversation and getting like insights. So I just assumed it was myself that was talking, and I was just having this conversation with my higher self, because that's what I thought I was doing, because I learned it from the Dolores Cannon regression technique. And then Grant posted one of the, without asking me, posted one of my messages once and put my name attached to it. Oh my God. And someone responded and said, who is she talking to? And he said, who are you talking to? And I said, well, I'm just talking to my higher self, like, obviously. And then everyone started saying, oh, she's channeling, she's doing this and this. And I thought, I didn't even think that that's what it was, because I was, I had just studied the Dolores Cannon thing. So I just thought I was talking to my higher self. And so this person was saying, ask who she's talking to. And I thought, I can't, like, I'm not talking to anything. I'm talking to myself or whatever. But I asked, and then, sometimes they would say, that it wasn't my higher self. They would actually say something. So whether they actually pulled up a name, or I saw an image of something, or they would say that they're a certain, whatever, I had no idea. So I thought it wouldn't work, because I was assuming I was talking to my higher self. So sometimes, and now I never ask, I don't think it matters. And you don't know if they're going to tell you the right thing. And I've even asked stuff before where they actually say that they can't really, it's so complicated what is actually happening, that if they say something and a name, they don't specifically have a name. They don't have a name in English. They're like telepathic. There's no name, so that's like, it's half the time they're just like trying to make sense for us to understand what they are. And so it doesn't matter, I don't think, who you're talking to, because I don't even know if it's the truth, because they're just trying to relate what's happening to our brains. And I don't think we really understand what it is. So I don't really ask ever who I'm talking to. I just ask and do a big protection thing to make sure that, you know, there's only good beings coming in or whatever. And sometimes they'll just say, you know, like, we're on a spaceship, or sometimes they'll say we are other dimensional beings. Sometimes they'll say, this is your higher self. They'll say different things. I don't ask, and they don't always say who it is, but sometimes they'll say things that are, and things that I don't even believe in, which for me is more personal validation that it is something that isn't my higher self, because they'll say things that I just thought, I don't even believe when people say they're talking to that or whatever, but they say that sometimes. So again, whether it's, you know, wherever it's coming from, I don't know, but it feels like it's not coming from you.
It validates what you're getting.
For myself, yeah.
And people want to do that. There's a lot of people want to do that, but this is why I asked you, what is the preparation? Apart from meditation, you have to, like, you know, drink a lot of water, do a special diet, be in a quiet place. I mean, what do you need to have? So if you wanted to do that, how could you prepare yourself?
I can tell now, only because I've been doing it long enough. But before, I just used to meditate. I used to meditate for an hour. Like I said, I would meditate for an hour, and I would wait and listen. And I would just wait until something would start. And I never knew at the beginning, of course, I didn't know anything. So I didn't know what was happening. But now I can tell when it's starting, because they say really weird things. Like, they always say the first couple sentences. So before I even start typing, I meditate. So maybe only 20 minutes or half an hour now, but I'll meditate.
Okay.
And I always do this prayer of protection kind of thing, because for my other healing stuff, you're always supposed to make sure that you're like making a bubble of white light or golden light or something. And you're only asking for the higher beings of a higher vibration to come in, make sure you're protected. Your guides are the gatekeepers or whatever. Like, I do stuff like that just for, you know, what I believe to be protection myself. And then meditate for, like, you know, however long, 20 or 30 minutes or whatever, and then listen. And I just sit there, and sometimes it takes an hour until they come, and sometimes they come right away, and they or it, whatever. And yeah, so the preparation is really just stilling your mind until you're at a point where you don't have any thoughts, because you have to tease your thoughts away from other thoughts. So you have to make sure that your mind is, you know, still enough that there is nothing. And then you have to listen to and hear what, you know, basically hear what they're saying, or you know that it's not you. So you have to take yourself out of your own you, which Grant would say you have to shut down your left brain, right? You have to make sure that your ego is not talking and is still and is just sitting there, and you're like witness to whatever's happening. And yeah, and then they start saying how the connection is happening.
Okay, and do they talk about your personal life at all?
Never.
No.
I cannot make them. I ask.
Yeah.
No, and I'm actually kind of worried to ask about my own personal stuff, but I've asked many, many times, and they never, like, if I just ask for a regular message, they have never said anything that is any kind of like physical 3D help of, like, you know, my finances or my anything. They don't talk like that ever to me about anything like that. And if I do ask personal stuff, it's very hard. They really don't want to. And it's such a broad, vague thing that it's nothing specific. And they always just like remind me that that's not the thing. You're not here to find out about yourself. So like, stop. They just want to talk about like oneness. And they say basically a lot of the same kind of concepts. And they seem to be interested in clarifying how reality works. But like, for me personally, like, never. They've never said the name of anyone that I know. They never say stuff like that.
It's more or less philosophical.
Yes, absolutely. And less personal, because it's not about personal, right? It's about broader concepts of like how the universe works and consciousness works and reality works. It's not about like, you know, should I invest my money or sell my house? It's not, I don't get stuff like that at all. No.
Have they, okay, this is a really important question, I think. In these times, which are a little difficult, what kind of advice are they giving humanity?
They definitely, I've never had a bad message, a negative message ever, ever, or a negative feeling or anything when I was channeling. And so they definitely are saying that this is a big shift in consciousness that's happening right now. And they've been telling me that since the day I started. They call it the shift, which other people sometimes call it as well. And they're basically saying this is supposed to be happening, exactly what we're experiencing. You know, when we look back on it, it's not going to seem as bad as it looks, like how it looks now, and how, you know, much suffering and trauma there is involved in everything that's been happening, you know, the last 6 months or whatever. So they always say the big picture, and they're saying this is totally natural and fine, and you have to love everyone the same, whether they're in this category or this category or this category. Everyone is doing the best they can. Everyone is on their own personal life journey, and they're progressing at the exact rate that they're supposed to be. So you can't force anyone to change their opinions or their ideas. It's all happening exactly the way it's supposed to be. And there is a shift of consciousness. So there is a big awakening that a lot of people are, you know, rethinking how they want to live their lives, especially because of the lockdown. You know, of course, everyone was at home, and a lot of people, horrible circumstances, and lost their jobs and were sick, and people, you know, dying and everything. But it also slowed everything down. So they made this image that I saw was kind of like a wet blanket all over the whole earth, wrapping around the whole earth, kind of just forcing. It was like a forced quieting, stopping of like the rat race and the working, you know, people just like get into the, of course, you know, cycle where they're just working and then coming home, paying their bills, trying to make money, shopping, eating and sleeping, and then just doing it again. And there was never a pause for us in the last, you know, however long, for everyone to just have no choice but to stop and to rethink and to refigure out where your morals and how your ethics lie. And if you want to keep working, if there's two people in the house, maybe one of them doesn't have to work anymore because you saw that you didn't have to, you know, that you could live with a little bit less money, and maybe you don't need two cars anymore. And it was like the shutdown, how they said it to me is it was a forced, necessary pause for everyone and the cosmic consciousness of the planet in general, to make everyone rethink and realign and to decide what is the most important things for them, and then to change and to realize that they have power and they can manipulate their own future, manifest their own destiny, and they just needed the time out to be able to refocus or get focused. For people that never, you know, were so busy with work and everything, they just didn't have the, you know, the luxury of being able to have the time to be able to think of what's really important and how they want to move forward. So this moving forward is like the shift now, where everyone, you know, has had a little bit of a pause and a break, and we're able to think more clearly. And now everyone has the ability to be changing their life for the better, changing the planet for the better, their actions, their attitudes, you know, their communities, everything.
So it's like a reevaluation.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Would you also call it a test?
Yeah, yes, they did. They say it's and I think Ricardo told us that too, right? That it was kind of like a test.
Use the word test.
Yeah, absolutely. A test just for everyone to see not what side you're on, because it's not about sides, but it's about your own side. What side of yourself are you on, and what focus and where you want to head the rest of your life, right? It was a time for you to reevaluate and figure out what you want to keep doing.
Now, does this come like naturally, or do you have to force it? Like, you have to say, okay, if you're really, really tired, you just go to bed and you don't do anything and it comes naturally? Or do you say, well, tomorrow I'm going to just go meditate and see what they tell me? How do you do it?
Well, I have a friend who channels as well, and she only does it in the morning. She does it as soon as she awakes, because she says that she's clear at that time. But I guess because I'm not very good with waking up, I certainly don't get up early in the morning or anything, I'm more clear at night. So I've tried to do it in the morning and I can't, because I have to be in a meditative state. And in the morning, I wake up and start thinking of all the things I have to do all day. And all I focus on all day is trying to get my stuff done. So at night, I don't have to think anymore. So I'm already naturally in more of a meditative state before I go to sleep, because that's when I'm releasing everything from the day, and I'm up late and the house is quiet and like the world is quiet. Everyone's asleep. So I'm more comfortable doing it at night. And yeah, I can do it anytime. I just have to make sure I'm in the mindset. So sometimes if I'm not, even for dowsing, even for you a couple of times, I'm like, if I have too many things going, I can still douse, but I can't tell you it's going to work as good as it does when I can be clear myself and in a meditative state, because then I'm connecting, and then of course it works better, right? So it's easier to do any of this kind of stuff if you can meditate. And I always just do that before I go to sleep. So.
Well, she's using the word dowsing. You're using the word dowsing, but what I call it is the pendulum. I mean, it's like a pendulum thing. You know, if it's, and I test it to see if it's like, ask a stupid questions to see if it will say that I know the answers to. And it depends, I think, your relationship with your environment, with the actual tool. I mean, some tools don't work as well as others. I mean, I find the crystal, something that has crystals hanging from it, is much better. And I've asked you to do some of that for me because I don't want to know the answer. In other words, I don't want to influence the answer, you know, because I think there are all kinds of messengers in the universe that will give us messages when we need them. Do you think that, of course, channeling wouldn't be for you because they never talk about your personal life. So that wouldn't happen. They're channeling for the planet. They're not going to tell you how much money you have in the bank, if you're going to sell something, if you're going to meet somebody. They won't tell you that. They will give you an overall philosophy from which to live.
Yes.
So your books are this philosophy of which to live. And if you want to go one step further, the philosophy is mostly positive, so it would be inspirational. In other words, it wouldn't be so depressing you want to slit your wrist. You want to look at the world in an inspirational light.
Yeah.
And so in your heart, is that a satisfaction that you have these two books of inspirational things?
Yes. And the thing with publishing a book or knowing that your name is attached to something that's going to be for public consumption is, you read it over and over and over and over and over. And there's quite a few times when I was looking through and editing the book or trying to figure out how to, format it or whatever. And I would try and channel that night, and they would say, I don't know what you think you're doing trying to get more information. You don't even know the information that you've already gotten. So this is not happening tonight. You can go and start reading your own book and get the information that we've already given you, because you need to keep reading this information a million times because you don't even get it yet. So,
wow.
So definitely.
Yeah, it's like going to school.
And honestly, and I remember the feeling the next day, and for days and years so far, I can remember the feeling behind the message, but I don't remember the message. And so even when I go through the messages, or someone, if someone gets the book and asks me a question, I have no idea what they're talking about. I have to look through it. And when I look through it, I go, wow, like even still. And I've read them 1,000 times because I have to be.
Did I say that?
Yeah. So it is, they are inspirational, because it's even inspirational to me, not like I'm bragging, but I'm just trying to say that I don't even remember what it is. And they know that I don't remember what it is. And so they tell me sometimes you're not getting anything else, because you can just go back and read the messages we've already given you and process them better so that you get it more, because then you'll be asking and interested in different questions because you've gotten it. So I think that they know, of course they could like read your mind or whatever, right? Because they're part of that whole, aspect of yourself. And so they know that I don't get some of it. And so they're trying to say like, I'll be clear with the questions that I want answered if I understand more of what they've already told me. But for that, you have to, I have to keep reading it. And so I do keep reading them. Or when I look for something, I'll read them again and get something different from it, because it's very vague. They're very specific on topics, but it's very open and vague. And they told me when I asked if I should be writing a book, they actually said the way that we're wording this, because it's not how I talk at all. It's like so crazy. I don't talk anything like that. But that's the point. They said everyone who reads this is going to get something different from each of the messages. That's why we want it in these specific words, because it means a different thing to different people based on a different time, wherever they are in their life. And I even can see that because again, I don't remember it. And when I reread it, I think, oh my God, that's so weird. Because if this thing didn't happen last week, I wouldn't have thought how I think now about that, you know, passage or whatever, whereas some of these messages are 4 years old. And I thought I interpreted, I perceived them totally differently 4 years ago than I do now. So I actually only recently actually believed that it's true what they said, that everyone gets something different out of it. You know, I wouldn't have known that when they said that, they just said it. But I get it now, because I even get something different out of them because I'm, you know, older and in a different position or whatever in my own life. And so I'm even getting something different from it. So yeah, I think that I don't know, that makes me believe it more a little bit, or it validates it a little bit more to me as well, because it's an interesting part of it that you don't remember it all and that you learn still from it.
Well, it's so